I'm the regional radiation specialist here for Health Canada. So my job entails doing a lot of public outreach for the radon program here, just giving information. So my part of the presentation will just be kind of a big background on what radon is and all that good stuff. So I'll jump right into it. So yeah, like our presentation outline is going to go over what radon is, what impact radon has on our health, where radon comes from, how to test for radon, and how to reduce radon. And then at the end, Jacob is going to talk a little bit more in depth about the library kits. So we'll start with what is radon. So radon is a radioactive gas that is produced naturally by the breakdown of uranium in the ground. So just like carbon monoxide, radon is colorless, odorless, and tasteless, so we can't see it at all. So natural radiation is everywhere, but radon represents almost 50% of a person's lifetime radiation exposure. And the known health effect of radon is lung cancer. So how we get exposed to that is through inhalation. And the radioactive properties of radon means that it spontaneously changes and releases energy. And the energy that is released can cause damage to the lung cell tissues, resulting in an increased risk of lung cancer. So what are the health risks? Like I said, radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer in non-smokers, and it kills more than 3,000 Canadians each year. So this chart, it just compares the risk of dying of radon-induced lung cancer to other better known risks. So as you can see, the deaths from car accidents, carbon monoxide poisoning, and house fires altogether don't even equal the amount of deaths in Canada from radon-induced lung cancer each year. So this just, I think, really puts it into perspective. And so, yeah, the risk of lung cancer from radon is significant, but it also is preventable. So where can radon be found? There's going to be radon in all buildings. So it'll be in homes, workplaces, and offices, schools, and daycares, and other buildings. But our biggest risk from radon exposure is going to be at home, because that's where we spend most of our time, especially in the past couple years. So radon in Canada, as you can see, the percentage of homes with high level of radon. So in the Alberta area, it's between 1 and 10%, and then in the Calgary kind of Banff area, it's over 10%. So as I said before, radon is in every building in Canada. There's no areas, as you can see on the map, that are radon free. And something really interesting about radon is 2 houses that are built side by side can have different levels. So the only way to know is to test. And how radon gets into a home. So it can get into a house through any cracks, openings, or gaps in the foundations, wall, or floors. And then the air pressure inside of the house is normally lower than the pressure underneath or around the foundation. So with that, the difference in pressure acts like a vacuum, and it can draw radon in through the cracks and other openings. And once it gets inside the house, radon can build up to dangerous levels. So radon testing and why we want to do long term. So as you can see from the chart, the level of radon in a house can vary greatly, even over a short amount of time. So when you take a test that's 3 months or at least 90 days, you can see you get a better annual average exposure for your house. And there's lots of different factors that can affect the level of radon in a house that include something like building design, building condition, and occupancy patterns. Another big thing too is even just having your windows open. That can also cause a big fluctuation in the level. So how to test for radon. So you can purchase a do-it-yourself kit or hire a certified radon measurement professional. The resource for that is on takeactiononradon.ca. And as I said before, we want to make sure that these tests are 3 months, and they're either in the fall or the winter. And then this is just kind of a guidance document we have of where to put the radon test. So kind of in further detail here, if you want to put it in somewhere in a typical breathing zone, and you want to make sure that it's away from any ventilation or fans, away from any electrically powered appliances, away from heat sources, and away from other objects, so that you can have like a natural airflow. So you wouldn't want to put it in a closet or something because that's not really a typical breathing area. So our federal guidelines, so Health Canada recommends that you mitigate your home if it's over 200 becquerels per cubic meter. So the higher the radon concentration, the sooner mitigation action should be taken. And while the health risk from exposure below the Canadian guideline is considered reasonable, there is still an associated potential health risk which is proportional to the exposure. So when to reduce the levels, so Health Canada says that if your home is between 200 and 600 becquerels per cubic meter, to get it mitigated within 2 years, and if it's above 600, then to get it mitigated within a year. So how they reduce radon, it's quite easy. So having an active soil depressurization system can lower radon by up to 90%. Increasing home ventilation can lower your radon as well. And these techniques are very effective and they can save lives. And the mitigation system can usually be installed in less than a day. So kind of going over what the active soil depressurization system is. So the house that's on the left, that's kind of more a typical mitigation system that you would see in Canada. So it's called active subslab depressurization. So it's the most effective, reliable, and common technique. So with that, a pipe is installed through the foundation in the floor. And then a pipe is attached to a fan that is continuously run to draw radon from beneath the floor slab, and then it vents it out the side of your house. And then this system can also reverse the air pressure difference between the house and the soil, which reduces the amount of radon that is drawn into the home. So yeah, the radon level can often be reduced by 80% or more using this technique, and the typical installation cost is between $2,000 and $4,000. And then this is just a little bit about Health Canada's National Radon Program. So there's 5 different kind of categories. So there's technical and industry guidance. So with this, this just is technical projects to develop and validate guidance and technologies for radon risk reduction and to transfer that knowledge to industry. Another big one is outreach and stakeholder engagement. So that's part of my job. So just kind of trying to get the public as informed as possible about radon and just other stakeholder engagement. And then radon policy promotion. So this is encouraging the adoption of radon risk management practices in relevant policy and legislation. And then radon research. So still, they're just still doing a lot of research on radon, trying to figure out just more information of how it can be prevented or how or if something would predispose someone to be more likely to get lung cancer from radon. They're just doing lots of research on this. And then database and mapping, so characterizing the extent of the radon problem in Canada through measurement and mapping. And then questions, I think I'm going to go to Jacob first, and then we'll see if you have any questions at the very end. Is that what we wanted to do, Jacob? Do you do first? Go first?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, let's do that. Can everyone hear me? I can see you guys. So if I can get a thumbs up, that's perfect.
Jacob, do you have a screen to share as well?
I don't. I'm just going to be kind of showing off the book that you guys have in your libraries along with the kits and as well as the actual device itself. So I'm not as fancy as Madison, but it'll have to do. Okay, so my name is Jacob Sperling. I'm the Health Promotion Coordinator for Alberta Lung and Northwest Territories. You may know us better as the Alberta Lung Association, but we're going through a bit of a rebrand, and I'll detail that later. So yeah, I'll just run through the book that everyone received in your test kits at each of your libraries. That's underneath, I believe it's underneath or on top, whatever. It goes along with the screening device. Yeah, so if you haven't gone through the book yet yourself, this will be a good summary, and if you have, I can clarify anything that maybe you didn't understand. So the first portion is just a couple of stories detailing the significance of radon. The first one details a lady in Canada who was an Olympic level hockey player, and she actually developed stage 4 lung cancer and she'd never smoked a day in her life. So she wanted to test for radon, and I actually don't think it mentions if her house was high, but she's a big advocate on our behalf, and she does a lot for our organization. So we always encourage to test. You can, if you are a smoker and your house has high levels of radon, the amount percentage that you are more likely to get lung cancer is exponential. And even if you're not a smoker, you can still get lung cancer. Definitely if your house has high levels of radon. So then in the next section of the book, it details a little bit of history of radon. And an interesting fact is actually that radon was discovered at McGill University in Montreal all the way back in 1899. So it has a Canadian history that is important for us to recognize. Further on into the booklet, we have a little bit of information on radon, basically just a really brief summary of the presentation that Madison gave. It tells you what you can expect when, just all the little details about radon. And then we go into the health effects of radon. So that's the lung cancer connected to radon. And yeah, as Madison said, 3,000 people die every year estimated from radon-induced lung cancer in Canada. So that's very high considering car accidents is just a little bit over half of 3,000. The book also details, it gives a nice map, and it gives you where radon is located in Canada, specifically the levels, because it's everywhere in Canada. Uranium exists in all the soil across our nation. So you always have to test and be sure. The CEO at Alberta Lung Association always vouches for this, because her home was actually about 4 times the recommended level of radon, and her neighbor next door was under the level. So you always have to test and be sure and all that good stuff. The next section is about another little piece of Madison's presentation, is about how radon enters. Sorry, my lighting is so bad, but it's about how radon enters homes and what to be cautious of, especially if you have cracks in your foundation and stuff. And it also details about how to test, and about the it gives the chart about long-term radon testing. And I'll detail that a little bit longer, because the tests we actually gave you are only screening. So I'll detail that. It's not a long-term test, it's only screening. So yeah, and then it goes into the action levels. So what Madison was detailing about mitigation, and 200 becquerels per cubic meter. If you're over that, they recommend that you get your house fixed within 2 years. And if it's above 600 becquerels per cubic meter, it's actually recommended that you mitigate within 1 year, because the significant health risks are quite high. And then the booklet just goes into mitigation, and it's pretty detailed about the device as well. So this is the device. I just have a brand new one. It's not turned on. I just stress that your patrons always reset. So there's a really small, you won't be able to see it. There's a really small reset button on the back of the device, and you'll have to click that with a pen or a pencil or something, and it just resets the whole device. Because if you don't reset it, you'll actually get the radon numbers from the last house that the screening kit was in, and you obviously don't want that, because if theirs was low and yours was high, and yours turns out to be high, it'll average out to be somewhere in the middle, and that might not be good, because if your radon levels are high, you obviously want to purchase a long-term test kit and see if that was an abnormality or something. As well, so I guess I'll detail that, how this is a screening tool. So this, because it's in library systems, and you're only allowed, not allowed, but you're only available to give them out for a certain time before you have to move it along and give it to another patron. It's only a screening tool. So as Madison said, we encourage that everyone purchase a long-term test kit so that it can get the average and not a week's worth. So if your library patrons only have this for a week or 2, that's going to get a small segment of their annual, or at least their quarterly and radon levels in their home. So they could have they could have, if it might say 400 becquerels per cubic meter, but that might be the highest their home ever sees. And that might be enough to encourage mitigation, but it might not be if their home for the other 9 or I guess 11 months of the year is only at 50 becquerels. So it's kind of risk mitigation, and we encourage that everyone purchases a long-term test kit. This is really an educational tool. It gets, in addition to the booklet, this might be more valuable than the actual kit, screening kit itself, because it encourages knowledge on radon and I guess just spreading the word. And if we don't have that, then it's not really talked about, as opposed to like smoking. Obviously, smoking is really talked about for lung cancer, but if this is killing 3,000 Canadians a year, that's important. Yeah, so the reset button, and I think that's pretty much it on my end. I'll just talk about our rebranding really quick. So the Alberta Lung Association split off from the Canadian Lung Association, where we're working on our own now so that we can focus on local problems and Albertans, and we don't have to send the money that we raise off to the Canadian Lung. So we can really focus on problems here. What goes along with that is a name change. So previously we were known as Breathe, the Lung Association. We can't really use any of those monikers anymore. We're just Alberta Lung and Northwest Territories. Legally, we're still known as the Alberta Lung Association, but yeah, so on all the books, and I believe even the test kit on the outside, it says, it still has our old branding, which is a problem, but since we're still working with a marketing team, we can't send anything out because we don't even have our new rebranding yet. The major problem is that the bottom of each booklet and throughout the booklet, it says our website is ab.lung.ca. If you could please have your patrons look up ablung.ca, not ab.lung, so AB as in Alberta. ablung.ca is our new website. That's where they can go to purchase new full long-term test kits, and they can get more information on radon, and they can contact me if they need. And then if I don't have in-depth information, I can contact Madison, so they can get directly to Health Canada if they need to at ablung.ca. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my end. If you guys have questions for either Madison, maybe more specifically on radon, or the program, you can ask me. We'll just open the floor to any kind of questions.
Does anyone have any questions for either of our two presenters? I don't see anything. I have one question. I noticed that in the graphics in Madison's presentations, it's sort of focused on the basement because obviously we're dealing with it coming from the soil. Does that mean that in anything above basement level, you would be at lower risk? Is that a stupid question? Sorry.
No. Oh, is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, so we recommend to test on the lowest lived in level. So let's say that you have an unfinished basement and you literally just go down there to either get stuff out of storage or use your deep freeze, then we would recommend that you test the main level of your home. But if you have, like, let's say you have a den down there, then we recommend testing down there, right? It's somewhere that you spend like a lot of time typically, or like if you have a kid that has a bedroom in the basement or your bedroom's in the basement, then we would recommend to test down there. There can be some fluctuation of the levels throughout the house, like for example, like in apartment buildings, like if you live on the 5th, 6th, 7th floor, then we don't recommend that you test your apartment because by the time it would get up there, it would disperse. But in a house, yeah, so in a home though, like there can be a difference between the basement and the main level, but like I said, we just recommend to test wherever you're spending a lot of your time, right? So like I said, if you don't really use your basement other than for the odd like storage or the odd time you want some like to work out or something, like then we'd recommend to test the main level of your house. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Any other questions for our presenters? This might be one of those things where you think of questions after the meeting or the next few days. And if that happens, you could always reach out to Kate, and Kate could get in touch with the presenters and pass along any questions. I'm sure that would be okay with them, right? I see nodding. Lisa.
I have a question, totally personal. But when we purchased our house, they told us that we have a wooden foundation, not a concrete one. Does that make us more susceptible to radon?
So this is like the thing, right? Like you don't really know unless you test. So because it depends too what's underneath your home, not entirely of what your like slab or like what your foundation is made of. So yeah, so it's hard to say, right? Because I've had people ask questions, oh, I live near this, whatever, and I'm like, I can't tell you unless you test. So we're just really, really trying to encourage people to test, because yeah, like even Jacob was saying with the CEO of the Alberta Lung, like their house was high, but then the next door neighbor is fine, right? So yeah, it's a lot of fluctuations.
And I noticed on that map that you showed that the north had significantly lower levels. Is that due to lower testing, or is that just how uranium is allocated in the soil, I guess?
So the Yukon, actually, they've done like the Yukon has had really, really high levels.
Oh, okay.
But none of it, their homes are on stilts, a
Yeah.
lot of them, so they don't actually touch the ground. But yeah, so they're still trying to do more testing there. But yeah, like you were saying, like I'm not sure how much testing has been done up there, but yeah, they have found right, because a lot of their houses are on stilts, so they don't actually touch the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions for our presenters?
I have one.
Mandy.
In the book, it says to check after a home renovation. Does that mean a home renovation where the ground is disturbed, or if like strictly inside your home, or?
Yeah,
I'm just
so
curious.
we just say like after any major home renovation. So like just anything that's like a big project you want to retest, because it can just kind of disturb just kind of everything in the house. So like if it's something like you're like putting in new carpet or something like that's not super invasive, then you're okay. But if it's something like more like you're ripping your entire kitchen out, or just anything that you're like really like doing a lot of stuff, then yeah, we recommend to retest.
Cool, thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for your time this morning. This was really helpful and really interesting. And we will follow up if we think of any additional questions. Kate will follow up with you, okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.